Oh, we're live. Um, Hi, Maria. Welcome to Venture with Grace.
Hi, how are you, Grace?
I'm good. So, I heard amazing things about you. So, I was participating in the iFly VC Summit, and then I was like chatting with other people. Then there was one founder who were like, "Oh, you should have Maria on your show." And I look up your profile.
That's great.
Profile. I was like so impressed because you are literally the VP of engineering of all the big tech companies and the former CTO of Tinder. Now you have your own company, Palona AI. I was binging through your other podcast episodes that I heard that Palona AI was primarily the name was actually coming from Paloma the drink. um, why don't we start with I would love to start with what are some since you started your career as a software engineer and then now you have your own company after working at various big tech companies as very senior leaders in the engineering space. What are some core lessons that you've learned early on in your career kind of shape you into who you are today?
Yeah, there's a lot. One thing is, I think we learn from our mistakes more than we learn from our successes. Although people think of successful people that made less mistakes, but I think it's actually the other way around. I think the lesson is kind of don't take yourself too seriously. Be willing to make mistake. Be willing to try new things, different things, challenge yourself, right? I always say if you haven't failed, you're in the comfort zone. That means you're not pushing yourself hard enough.
Mm, I wonder, so since I think you're probably also from China, based off the
I
university.
am a
Uh,
100%. Yeah.
oh yeah, same here. So I wonder who do you consider as your personal board of advisors when you are, when you came to the US and then, obviously having a very successful career in tech.
Yeah. Yeah, I think of it's interesting you use the term board of advisor. I think it's more ubiquitous and not
Mhm.
like a company with a board of uh, board members. But really, I think you can learn from everybody.
Mhm.
Your friend, your coworker, your neighbor,
Mhm.
and I'm a mother of two kids. I also, of course, as parent, it's my job to coach them and teach them. But at the same time, I can tell you, I learned a lot from my kids as well. Yeah. So, my take on this is really be very open minded and be humble, and then you can learn and get advice from a lot of people. Yeah.
For sure. I totally agree with you. You can learn from people who are older or younger or just it's not about the experience, but it's more about from people who are different and you can probably learn from anyone and everyone
Yeah.
um about something. I wonder since you are an engineer turned founder, so what do you identify as one core key skill that you have to constantly trying to get better at? It could be, soft skill like sales or technical skill like coding, or what is something that you spend a lot of time on?
Yeah. Well, as you said, as an engineer, right, your core skill is technical skills, is engineering skills, right?
Mhm,
If you're not a good, I don't subscribe to kind of a pure manager type of role, right?
mhm,
And if you're in HR, you're HR professional, right? If you're
mhm,
engineering leader, engineering manager, you're still an engineer. And for myself, I'm definitely an engineer at heart. I actually feel sad I don't do much engineering work on my team because I have a very, very strong engineering team and they take care of business for me. And they're like,
mhm,
Maria, go leave us alone. So it's good. So I have to, as a CEO of the company, spend most of my time and energy on the business side of things, on the go-to-market initiatives and so forth, especially at this inflection point, right? We build amazing product, we have product market fit, we just need to scale and find, many, many more customers. But going to answer your question, right? Even till very recently, I was VP of engineers and also at Meta as well. I supported very large teams of, hundreds of engineers, but I still see myself as an engineer. I definitely, keep myself updated and in quite a little bit of a depth of detail of the projects and the technology. And personally, it really brings me joy, and that's my comfort zone actually, right? So I really enjoy doing that type of work. But now I'm a CEO, and the CEO's role is not an engineer; is actually to build a business and a successful business, right? So that's why I kind of have over the last 12 months or so going through this shift and transformation.
For sure. I wonder, so let's talk about your current company, Palona AI.
Mhm,
So for the audience who don't know, or like who is like the first time hearing about it, so
mhm,
it is a voice AI agent that help you like take restaurant orders. And
mhm,
I know that you started out with like the pizza segment in
mhm,
general. So I wonder, maybe we could start with like from like the technology perspective. Like what are some newest like technology that you kind of implemented into your product since you're
mhm.
coming from the
Yeah.
engineering background?
Yeah, so we actually have an amazing research and engineering team. There were a lot of people with computer science PhDs, and most of the team came out of first year tech companies, Google, Meta, etc. And building agent is new. So I wouldn't say there's a lot of maturity or best practices. So we are just pushing boundaries and really on the cutting edge, and kind of um, as we're building agents, we redesign the agents like multiple times, right, to find new ways to improve, and also the underlying technology, both the large language models and how we support full modality, both on the open source solution side and also on the um, engineering like dev platform side has
Mhm.
evolved a lot, right? So kind of, we're always upgrading in a way. um, in terms of technology, our approach is really to get on the giants' shoulders, right? We don't train foundational models. We don't, you create a new database solution. We leverage what's the best and greatest. But to make it right, there are a lot of nuances actually. I can say it's easy to build a agent, but it's very hard to build a perfect agent. There are just really a lot of facets you have to think through, right? For example, latency is an issue, ability to comprehend, anti-solution, anti-hallucination, security and compliance, and also really fine-tune that human likeness, and the efficacy of agents is kind of the true north, right? And
Mm,
that really takes a lot to achieve that goal. Yeah.
mm,
Last year, we started with building this EQ benchmark and build a fine-tuned high EQ model. But we've evolved a lot from that. Not only the agent is high EQ, which is an important part of being
mhm,
an effective salesperson. Right? Either you're selling pizza or selling dresses, you need to really, have that empathy, have that friendliness, to bring that pleasantry.
mhm.
But over the last few months, we really improved on order accuracy, uh, comprehension, multilingual support, and also reduce latency to create that very natural experience.
For sure. I find so there's like a few things that you just mentioned. So one is like anti-hallucination, and then there's like the EQ benchmark. There's like the security and compliance. I wonder from the to when you're like designing the product, I know that you guys at the beginning focusing a lot about like, texting and then also the voice agent. I wonder, so like in the past, like, there were years ago, I feel like there has always been like a voice agent for different restaurants, but it was just like not very well executed. It's like
Mhm,
when you hear about it, it's like, oh my God, I have to listen to
mhm,
the agent to repeat exactly my
mhm,
answer to my question,
mhm,
stuff like that. So I wonder, how do you kind of like personalize it? Because
mhm,
I think I was just listening to your interview that's like maybe 2 weeks ago at a I would assume that's like the Cali barbecue one, and then there's another one. So you guys were talking about like maybe mimicking the voice to the owner's voice.
mhm.
Um, that's like one of the things that you guys have done differently. I guess like how do you avoid the agent sounds like an agent? or does it like, what is like, what would you say is like the biggest hurdle that you have to go through to,
Mhm.
implement AI into these like different systems?
Yeah, yeah. So most of the phone answering systems are not built on generative AI.
Mhm,
So most of the solution has been around for decades. So my
mhm,
co-founder Tim Halls, our CTO, wrote a blog on the history. The blog name was AI
mhm,
Found Its Voice.
mhm,
But I started with this interactive voice system like IVS, IVA. So the press one, press two,
mhm,
pre-recorded message,
mhm,
and then it kind of um, added in some of the NLP solution, the natural language
mhm,
processing, right? So it's really
mhm,
based on you have to say it this way for it to match word by word. Um, where our system was 100% built on the generative AI models, and like I said, we built on top of giants' shoulders, and we didn't have any legacy like these existing solutions have. And then, like voice cloning, just capture that the digital signature and the embedding, and enhance that experience to bring that human likeness, to bring that personality. We call it to bring your brand to life that you can interact with, right? So, Sean, as an example, he's a chef, restaurant owner, and also an influencer. And and they're such a passionate
mhm,
adopter of new technology, and also passionate about hospitality, digital hospitality. When we cloned his voice, he actually had his family, like his wife and kids, call, and they actually really couldn't tell that it was AI. It was that level of precision, and it took a lot of fine tuning. It's not just audio signature, but there's also the intonation, the choice of words, and his warmth, his personality to bring all of it forward, and to build what we call a full modality experience. Yeah, so it's very much cutting edge, and it's just leaps and bounds forward as the next generation solution, and it has actually no similarity of the past generation solution.
I wonder, so like, how do they, I guess, like, how do you design a model that could go along with everyone's voice? Is this like, do you have to fine tune for each individual or like each customer, or like, do you, I guess, like, what is the technology goes into it to actually build a clone of your own voice, or like, thinking fundamentally from like a AI perspective, how do you actually build the product
Yeah.
differently from the past?
Yeah, that's our trade secret, right? We've
Mhm,
invented ways, right, to handle all
mhm,
these nuances.
mhm.
Yeah.
What would you say it's like, I guess one of the question I had while listening to this other podcast is like, obviously you guys started with a pizza place. Why pizza? And what are some, like, I guess, like, what are some challenges between each different subsegment of the um food industry, I guess?
Yeah. Yeah. I can say it's a very thoughtful process. I'm not going to go into too much details, but for every startup, from 0 to 1, finding your lane, right?
Mhm,
Basically finding the segment, or this term ICP, ideal customer profile, find that problem that your company is destined to solve are the hardest thing. Yeah, it is, life and death
mhm,
for companies. Actually, not really technology per se, but it's what problems are you solving? Who are you solving for? Yeah. So I'm also an angel investor that I've been investing since my last startup was acquired by Yahoo. And it started with just kind of giving back to the community because others had trusted me and invested in my startup as a first time founder. And much younger as compared to what I am today, and very immature. But over the last 12 this years, I've seen a lot of startups going from 0 to 1, 1 to 10, and some are fabulously successful, and many failed. Yeah, so long-winded way to there's a lot of thoughts that go into it, but from a storytelling perspective, I'll keep it simple. I love pizza, is my favorite food. Pizza My Heart is my favorite restaurant, and I pitched to them that. So that's the kind of the superficial, the story part, and it's all true, right? What I'm saying is all true,
Mhm.
but I'm sharing with the listeners, if you're thinking to start your startup, that really finding um, that ICP, and finding that problem that you want to solve and how you're solving it, where you're solving for, is so, so, so critical. Yeah.
Mm, I wonder since since we talk about pizza as the first food, itself, like, what are like, how do you kind of, like, target the different kind of locations? Since, like, I'm sure I mean, like, if I were, doing a company like this, I would think of, like, because there's a lot of different chains, so it may be easier to target, but I wonder, how do you think or, like, maybe it's more standardized, but I wonder, how do you think about, like, the location-wise? So, like, do you target primarily, like, restaurants that run you first, or, like, do you think of making bigger partnerships from like the go-to-market perspective since you're like the CEO instead of, the head of engineering today? How do you, I guess, like think about the business strategy? If you don't want to go into details, you could think of like the general concept of like how you process your own thoughts on go-to-market.
Yeah, one is like I said, it takes a lot of thoughts, right? Although when people
Mhm,
tell the story, they kind of keep it short and
mhm,
sweet, right? And just
mhm,
but there's a lot of analysis, right? Um, and in a few dimensions, you need to look at. One is TAM, right? Total addressable
mhm,
market,
mhm,
and it's big and small, right? Meaning, if it's too small, it's too niche, right? It's kind of like, oh, then it's not a meaningful business. But if it's too big, the problem is you're boiling the ocean, right? You're a small startup, you have 20 people, you're not gonna be able to boil the ocean. So it's really finding that balance, finding that sweet spot, right? You have a line of sight of a massive TAM, but you also have a sense of focus, and a, um, a set of boundaries where you can demonstrate that you build a not just a usable solution, but a superior solution, right? So you can challenge the incumbent, you can win over competitors, so that you can have that, kind of the first win, in one segment, one domain, but you do have the clear line of sight of a much larger TAM. For us, if you look at the founders and the team, we're very experienced, and this is not our first rodeo. So we do have a very high level of ambition, right? Kind of, building a small thing is really not that satisfying for us, and the ROI just doesn't doesn't work, right? Yeah, so talk about the restaurant industry. One is it's genuinely, truly, it is my passion. I love food. I love cooking. I'm a decent cook, and actually on weekends I cook for hours for my family and friends, and because I love the process. I love that, kind of enjoying the outcome of amazing food. And all my friends say I'm a workaholic because I work every day, and then on
mhm,
weekends my hobby is cooking, which is also quite a lot of work. Going to the restaurant industry, there's a million restaurants in North America alone. From a consumer behavior perspective, we all eat 3 meals a day. It doesn't matter if there is a recession or tariffs or whatever, we still need to eat our meals. And I also just really love the concept of hospitality, right? And this is what we share with our customer base, with our clients, that we share this passion of hospitality. And of course, for us, it's digital hospitality. For them, it's actually sweat and hard work of cooking every meal, bringing it to the table. So I think this combination of both really, offers a superior experience to everybody. We all need to eat. At the same time, what technology can bring to the restaurateurs is efficiency and effectiveness, right? So, I'm just really feel together with my team, we're all instilled with this mission that on one side, we want to bring digital hospitality to everyone, right? This is talk about 10, like everybody eats. And from the other side, we're all just genuinely feel so committed and energized to help our clients. People like Zhang at Cali Barbecue, Chuck and Chuck, Luke, Spencer at Pizza My Heart. Like I just really look up to these people. I have tremendous respect for their dedication, their work ethics, their energy level, and their commitment, and their creativity and their craftsmanship. Yeah, so I can share with you a perk of working at my company that we eat all the time like amazing food. So yeah, either it's Pizza My Heart pizza or Cali barbecue or many others that we're our pipeline that we haven't announced yet, but definitely a perk. At Palona, I have this saying called Palona 15, meaning you come here, you're going to gain 15 pounds. So it's a joke, of course, but definitely we are actively hiring. If some of the listeners are considering either a job change or you're curious, you want to challenge yourself, right? That it's the perk is you get to enjoy a sense of hospitality. We get together a lot as a team. We're now planning a picnic in July. We're going to do an outdoor kind of some grill, maybe some ice cream stations and so on and so forth. But holiday dinners and celebrations. Yeah, so there's like food is a major theme at the team of Palona.
I wanted to say hi to some of the audience. Hi, Surya. So I wonder when you're thinking about like I guess like since you mentioned like food has like a few big like advantages, which is like everybody have to eat. It's very recession proof, and obviously it's like a love career, so it's like technically very easy for people to like use and consume. There's like a really huge TAM. So I wonder, how do you think about like the differentiation? Since like I feel like for the restaurant industry, especially I guess of the pizza, I wouldn't say like deliver industry or like I guess like there's a lot of people who are building GPT wrappers in the restaurant space. Not obviously you guys have like really cool technologies that are you're using to differentiate the product from the tech perspective. I guess like from go to market, is there anything different than I guess like targeting various like different chains or like I guess like going to these like trade shows? Like what are something that maybe one thing that you uniquely think of like that's making your company um like more advantageous than like these other AI product that are in the restaurant space, especially for like ordering stuff?
Yeah. So I think you asked multiple questions. One is go to market is very hard. Yeah. So
Mhm.
startups all succeeded in go to market. Startup that died, probably failed at go to
Mhm.
market. Right? So it's very deterministic. Building product actually not so deterministic. I've seen company with decent products still died. I've seen
Mhm.
company with mediocre product very successful, right? So just one is to touch on how critical it is to build out the go-to-market function. Yeah, and it's particularly challenging for this company because all three founders and until recently, everybody on the team came from on the science and engineering side, right? So I can't say I'm a go-to-market professional in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, of course we had advisors, we had a lot of help and support, but we now have built, I think, a very much top tier, go-to-market team with most recent two hires, VP of Sales. Chris Stanton and Martin Bryant, both of them are just very brilliant, and I'm very grateful that they, left whatever job that they had. They're very successful, had a great track record, and joined this tiny startup and be the first 2 person as professionals to take this product to take this company to the next level. And of course, I've been doing all of the founder-led sales. It's absolutely necessary. I've talked with hundreds of potential clients and prospects and partners, right, in the in the this course of last year, right? And then kind of narrowed it down and broadened the spectrum and narrowed it down again. It's an iterative process. And in terms of the mechanics of go-to-market, you mentioned it. Yeah, we are doing more of a full spectrum go-to-market strategy. You don't have to do full spectrum. You can just focus in on one channel. I've seen successes. Some startup, I'm just going to focus on this partner channel. It's all through partners. It's very cost effective and it's quite expedited, but of course you have a dependency with your channel partner. I've seen companies that just rely on SEO and SEM, right? I'm getting all of my leads from Google, I'm converting them, I'm doing millions of AR, absolutely works. And of course, we're on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also another channel. For me, full spectrum means I'm building a brand. So a lot of the work we build is through building this brand, Palona. Even look at our website, we have a significant amount that came through just Palona.ai and not just some keywords, right? They intentionally want to come to Palona.ai because they heard about us, because they know, and this is brand, right? I really believe in brand value because ultimately that's the differentiation. Yeah.
Mm.
I'm not going to go through all of the details, but trade shows, trade publication, press, media, LinkedIn. We're going to do more social media in the next few weeks. We're just putting together a more comprehensive social media marketing plan. And we haven't really done much SEO, SEM, but I also want to close that gap. And this fall, turn up SEM as well. Yeah, so full spectrum, all the way from brand marketing to account-based targeted marketing, and then picking up some of the gaps that we have on the SEO, SEM side.
For sure. I find so I feel like lately I just saw I think the CEO of LinkedIn posted a post about like the current it's over 70% of the current um, business decision makers at corporate are like made by millennials and Gen Zs. And I feel like I would assume like I would go after, the TikTok community to go for these like viral marketing. And since like I feel like obviously you have been really successfully at hiring a lot of people with experiences, but I think like coming from a consumer background, you yourself, like, you have worked on product like Instagram or LinkedIn or Tinder, like I feel like a lot of the um it seems like your company is also consumer facing, since I feel like any restaurant owner, they're technically small business owners, or they're more like individuals, like decision makers, instead of just like, having um I would assume like, a IT support person, like they're their own like kind of decision maker in a way. I wonder from the sales angle, like since like I was like just browsing your team's like LinkedIn, so it seems like this the head of sales is coming from like Qualtrics or like these like kind of B2B SaaS kind of angle. I guess like do you feel like it's kind of replicatable from like I guess a traditional like B2B sales, like from like a SaaS company, you sell to the other, I guess, CTO or something, versus like, you sell like a Palona AI to like, a guy from a local pizza shop. Or maybe like I guess like maybe the local thing we're not a target, assuming you guys are targeting chains, maybe. I guess the question is like, do you feel like the approach from like a B2B sales emotion will be replicatable for like, I would assume like Palona is kind of like a 2C-ish company.
No, we're not. We're traditional SaaS company. As you can tell, the
Mhm.
sales leader we hired, right, came from Salesforce, Quadric, or other restaurant tech industry. Yeah, it's not that
Mhm.
different. You're selling to industry. You're selling to the CEOs, the CMOs, the CIOs, the CTOs, the COOs. Yeah.
I wonder since like you know, like not everybody from the listeners are coming from like a hospitality industry. Maybe you could if you could share some insights on like, you know, building a product for that industry. At the beginning, how who did you talk to? And then like how do you I guess like acquire the customer insight on like what should you build or like what to go after since like you mentioned like yeah, I guess like you guys are very focused on like the voice model, but also like, you know, the texting as well. So how do you think of like what product to build after chatting with like these like restaurant owners?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So the question you asked is, I think, falls into at a large company the function of product management. Yeah, so that's
Mhm,
a product management function, and a product manager's job to
mhm,
define, right,
mhm,
what's the problem space, and what's the solution, and what's the go to market channel. At my company, we actually don't have PMs, and of course I do a lot of the PM work, but it's not just me, it's everyone,
mhm,
right? Yeah, so this is a little unconventional or controversial, but we intentionally hired engineers and builders that have this product mindset, right?
mhm,
And although we all came from the engineering background, but we didn't feel like our job is to read the spec and then
mhm,
code per spec, right?
mhm,
Because in a big company, that actually is your job. The PMs will write the product spec and then you code it per spec and then it's verified and you're good to go. We always want to think 3 steps ahead and really think about who are we building for, what problems are we solving, is there a better way to solve it. And this actually became, I think, a big attractor. And it's a kind of a two-way selection, right? If some people say, oh,
mhm,
no, 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 I need a spec, otherwise I wouldn't know what to code. I haven't really seen a lot of people who want to work at my company this way, but it's people like, oh, I love it. I can do the PM work. I can define the problem. And even everybody at my company have the opportunity to talk to clients. Yeah, not just me, but of course, I shared with, I've talked with hundreds, right? Definitely 3 digits of prospects. And it doesn't matter which industry it is. I actually initially talked to people in multiple industries, just in general, any consumer facing, any company that sells something to consumers, from healthcare to insurance to fashion to fitness, to a whole full spectrum, right? And then I kind of zeroed in, both because of a very calculated, very methodical way of analyzing the TAM, acuteness of the pain, the value of the solution, the competitiveness, and also my personal passion, also the
mhm,
frequency. No one buys anything more frequent than food. It's the highest frequency purchase. Period. Right. No
mhm,
other activities. I say I like to exercise. I love to run. I don't run 3 times a day. I don't even
mhm,
run 3 times a week, right? But I do eat 3 meals a day. Yeah.
mhm,
So my point is, it's actually quite industry agnostic, but it's
mhm,
the mentality, right? It's the mental model. It's empathy. Right? You have to put yourself in your client's shoes, and not like, oh, I came from Google. I know stuff. I'm going to tell you how you run your business. That kind of startup fail, period, right? And then also kind of fail in a bad way, because kind of the industry actually rejects that kind of mentality. Um, and and two is, you have to just do the hard work. I can tell you, it's not easy. It takes a lot of effort. The outreach, either it's warm intro or cold outreach, or try to kind of awkwardly say hi to people at an event. Yeah. So,
mhm,
and but together with this team, we have had all of these conversations, and so I can't say with confidence, we have a very decent level of understanding of this business. And I
mhm,
also want to just share a little story. Martin Bryant, who joined the company a month ago. I just had since 7 a.m. I've been on calls with Martin, and because we were having a call with someone in London. He actually grew up in a restaurant, and his parents both restaurant owners, and even as a child he worked at a family business. He's from France, and from what he could tell me, like beautiful restaurants, and really beloved by locals and tourists. And he's actually trained a culinary, French chef, and also worked, over 10 years in the restaurant business, right, as an operator. And he's worked at every job, both front of the house, back of the house. And then about 10 years ago, he made a switch into tech, right? Because he sees how powerful technology is that can help people like his parents, like himself, to run restaurants more efficiently and effectively. So just having him on the team, and just really brings that innate understanding. Now I can say with confidence, we have an insider, we have someone really, and I ask Martin questions like multiple times a day, right? Because he has that insights. My point is, really, the insights are not free, and not from reading a couple books, watching a couple podcasts. It's really, you need to spend hours and hours and hours and hours, and really try to understand. And then also, I'm very fortunate to have someone like Martin joining the team, is to also build your team with that innate understanding. The
Mm.
combination led to, okay, now we know truly what the problems are facing, and then how we're solving that problem in the most kind of superior way, is better than the incumbent, better than the competitions.
I wonder, so like, what would be one piece of like insight that you find very interesting or surprising after, chatting with Martin or someone who has like very deep restaurant domain knowledge, or like, I guess like you guys have like Piece of My Heart as a client, or like chatting with these like bigger brands. What do you think was like something that like maybe like a regular consumer may not have expected, but running a restaurant business, people find like challenging?
hmm Yeah, I learned a ton. Just genuinely
Mhm.
tremendous respect to people in the industry, and to people who um, succeed succeeded in the industry. It's a highly competitive industry.
Mhm.
Um, just way more competitive than some of the companies I worked at before. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's cutthroat. Yeah. So, um, and the pressure comes from all directions. Yeah.
Mhm.
Supply chain management, managing staff. It's a high turnover workforce. Very demanding customers, right? And the customers are in your face. And one thing I learned was, somewhat jokingly, they say, "How do you measure, success in tech?" We can talk about all the benchmark and variance, efficacy, precision recall, yada yada yada. Right over there, the joke was, "Did you get yelled at today?" Yeah, so
Mhm.
I can definitely say, working at Google and Facebook, we don't get yelled at. Even when we made a mistake, we don't get yelled at. But in a restaurant, if you make a mistake, you're gonna be yelled at. Yeah, so just that intensity, just the demands. So it really, they earned my respect. I was like, wow, this is so hard. This is so hard. And just the long hours as well. Like, a lot of restaurants open very, very late. And you also need to get up early to start prepping. Just so much complexity, and so competitive, right? And so it really takes a lot to succeed. They are all like superhumans to succeed in this industry, even just the energy level. I'll tell you a story. I've been through 8 or 9 industry events. Yeah. And for I've also been to a lot of tech events, and it's just like, yeah, and then you kind of do your talk and you go to bed. And,
Mhm.
but there's and the restaurant industry events, there's happy hour, and then there's dinner, and there's after dinner, and there's after dark, and there's like after midnight events. I
Mhm.
completely depleted my energy. I just kind of retreated to my hotel room, but they were still going. And next day we see each other in the morning. They're bright and shiny. They were just like started. I was like, oh my gosh, how do you guys do this? But they're just used to it, because a lot of restaurants open till midnight. They still have to close. They still have to clean. They're just very much used to it. Just the level of hard work, energy level, the dedication. It's also very joyful, right? It's also very fun, and you get to eat a lot of delicious food and spend time with amazing people. They're all very charismatic as well. There's that warmth, right? If they don't have that warmth, and hospitality mentality, they wouldn't be in this industry, right? So, long answer to your question. Really, what amazed me was the people. Was the
Mm.
people? Yeah.
Mm. I wonder, so since like you were so one of your role was like the chief technology officer of Tinder. So I guess like running a consumer facing product versus like what you're doing now, which you identify as like a B2B SaaS company.
Mhm.
What do you think is like the core difference from the technology or like just like a business function perspective?
Yeah, it's not that different. I definitely had a lot of learning, on the building the right experience, because it's a consumer experience we deliver, but the business model, the go-to market motion is B2B, right? So we
Mhm,
have a B2B2C product.
mhm,
Yeah. So, definitely a lot of learnings. I also worked at LinkedIn for 2 years. Amazing team, very successful company, and then we're still benefiting from
mhm,
this platform. But my team at LinkedIn is a primarily a to B, is multi-billion dollars a year, SaaS, to
mhm,
enterprise sales, almost all of Fortune 500, and then the Fortune 2000, all the way to regional staffing companies, all the way to SMB startups. They all use the LinkedIn talent solution, right? So I also have witnessed tremendous growth, when I was at LinkedIn, right? So I also have this experience. I wasn't on the sales and marketing side, I was on the engineering product side, but peripherally, I've observed and learned from the very best.
mhm,
Both the marketing team and the sales team at LinkedIn are, absolutely world class. Yeah, just the way they operate is amazing. The level of excellence is, absolutely top tier. Yeah. So yeah, to answer your question, it's a combination, right?
mhm,
The experience at Instagram, Tinder was about building that refined, perfected user experience, and the business model is also very different. Yeah, we're not in that business model. We're in the kind of the LinkedIn talent solution. It's 2B, but you still have a 2C experience, but we have a whole suite of solutions, very clear ICP. Also for talent, so LinkedIn talent solutions, full spectrum, all the way from
mhm,
global companies, S&P 500, to startups like my company also use LinkedIn hiring solutions. Yep. So it's kind of the combination of both that gave me this confidence, and a certain level of familiarity and experience, right, to embark on this journey, to build this. It is a more complicated model. The 2B2C model, I think, is more complicated than just 2C. I'm going to sell in app store and get subscription or sell ads, right? Or just to be as back office, kind of doesn't matter. You just need to sell to for the employees to use, right? The 2B2C model, I would say, is the hardest.
mhm.
Yeah.
I wonder selling, like, what does the journey look like to sell to a restaurant? Let's call it like Piece of My Heart, or like, I guess Piece of My Heart is like maybe a very different one since it's like a chain, right? So like, I guess if you're selling to like a traditional, let's say like a mom and pop shop, they may have like, 4 or 5 store in the Bay Area or something. Like, how do you kind of like, first of all, like, who do you even talk to? Do you walk into the store to be like, hey, can we chat with your owner, or like do you hop on like a long email chain? I guess like what does a journey kind of look like to sell to a restaurant? And then you also mentioned that it's like there is a CEO of the restaurant. There is, I guess like I I don't know if like a regular restaurant would have like a CTO. I'm sure, I guess like a Piece of My Heart probably have, since like there's a lot of like point of sale system or like toast or whatever, like other technology that people have been implementing into making the chain function. appropriately. But I guess like for a regular restaurant, what does a tech stack even look like, or like who is a tech person to sell to?
Yeah. Yeah. So just the fact that you're asking this question
Mhm,
shows it's very intricate.
mhm,
Yeah. So, like most people, we all eaten at many restaurants, but we don't think
mhm,
about the complexity, right? Just it's not common
mhm,
knowledge.
mhm,
Even took me months to figure this out.
mhm,
It's quite complex tech stack, all the way from payment solution to inventory management to staffing shift management to delivery and dispatching. Yeah, so it has a lot of complexity. The other thing is it's a quite fragmented market versus Facebook, Google. We're not operating in fragment market. We're in just dominating just leadership. Even the largest players in this market, serving restaurants, hospitality, still only have a just a fraction of the total market. Yeah, so it's highly fragmented. Yeah, so given that the complexity and the intricacy, right? It's not a simple answer. I don't think that knowledge is really broadly shared. I think it's just going to remain intricate, and it's also quite dynamic. Of course, startups come and go. I have made an observation. Maybe startups has a high death rate, right? 99% of the startups die. And that's even counting you raised some funding, and some startup didn't raise fund, and it just nobody even cared, right? They're not even in the
mhm.
denominator. But I think startups enter into the restaurant tech space has an even higher death rate, just because of the intricacy and the complexity. And I think a lot of people entered without fully understanding the complexity and just couldn't survive.
I feel like one of the other challenge from the restaurant industry, it seems like, is like it's very decentralized. So there is, I feel like people I constantly see, like even just use I used to live in Hayes Valley. The other day I went to Hayes Valley. It's like a completely different set of restaurants since like I don't know 2 years ago or something. So I guess there's a lot of like high turnover rate. And even if you land a client today, maybe the restaurant you know, like moved or like, they just don't want to do
Yeah,
business
they also
with
have very
the
high death rate. Yeah, it's
right,
in
right.
double digit. Restaurant go out of business annually, right? This is public information. This is facts. Yeah,
Mhm. Yeah,
but the new one would open, right? It just
yeah.
shows the velocity and the competitiveness, right? It fit to survive,
Mhm.
right? I actually
Mhm.
love it. I love that, I'm serving a competitive market. I'm also quite a competitive person. My whole team, we all carry that competitive spirit in a positive and constructive way, right? If I don't want to be competitive, I should just work in a big company and chill out, right? Yeah. So we are here to compete, and we serve our clients so that they can be competitive.
Mhm.
Yeah, what you said is absolutely true, but uh, there is a positive side of a marketplace like that.
Mhm. By the way, a quick hi to Ronians. I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong. Okay, so I guess like for the restaurant industry, I guess like to sell to the restaurant industry or like the business model, I find it very, I guess like I just think it's too decentralized. Like, and then also the longevity of like each client may be very short. Is there like other benchmark that you're using to evaluate if someone's like a qualified client to make sure that you have a very sustainable long-term business?
Yeah, I think you misunderstood me. It's absolutely sustainable. Like I said, people eat 3 meals a day,
Mhm,
and I don't think decentralized is the right term. It's a vibrant ecosystem, right? Think about it.
mhm,
What Google has maybe 90% of the search share, right? Do you
mhm.
want to eat at one restaurant 90% of your meal? That would just that would be
Mhm,
awful, right? So it's the diversity and these versatility and the variety, right, of business competition make this whole industry satisfying to all the consumers. Yeah, so I don't. It cannot be centralized. You cannot centralize
mhm,
serving food, right? It has to be
Mhm.
local, it has to be personal, it has to be diverse, because we all have different taste buds, we all have different backgrounds, well, we all have, different preferences, right? Yeah, so I actually have this thesis of from personalization to individualization, right? Because you can say my news feed is personalized, but it's still finding like-minded people. But I could say in terms of my preference of food, is very unique, right? And even my family of four, we all have different taste buds. Everybody have their different favorite food, right? Yeah. So maybe pizza is the most crowd pleasing common ground. I think like everybody likes pizza, but then just the level of saltiness, sweetness, spiciness, temperature, texture, like we all have very different, right? So that it doesn't mean it's not a long lasting. It probably is the most long lasting industry. When no other industry exists, we still be eating. Yeah. So, but it just has a different dynamic, right? So it's definitely not about the longevity, but it's about the dynamic, and the competitiveness.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wonder, so like for like I guess like as a former like VP of engineering at Instagram, so I guess like since when you joined the role, you have led different I guess like you let like AI, but in different formats, like from content creation to like sharing or like the feed or DM or reels. So I guess like when you are trying to implement AI into any product at scale, like what's the thought process on like what to start first and then to I guess like which piece of AI
Mhm.
component is actually implementable to a company?
Yeah, yeah. This is a great question. We do think about scale first.
Mhm.
This is also often a startup, or we say, we took a very unique approach given our background and our beliefs. We believe in scaling first, meaning even without a lot of clients, we build a scalable system. When we design the solution, we think, will this scale, right? So it took us longer to take this product to market. And trust me, it gave me a lot of anxiety for how it's taking so long. But we built it the right way. We know when we take the product to market, we're very confident this is a scalable solution. Versus another philosophy, that, oh, let's just kind of build a minimum viable product, and let's find some your clients, and then your success becomes your failure because the solution doesn't scale, right? Yeah, so we are build for long-term sustainable growth, and we also really believe that there's such a massive TAM, that we will also succeed in the go-to-market motion. So, to answer your question, the first thing we think is, will this scale? Because a lot of solutions won't scale, both in terms of just the technology feasibility, that you can't serve concurrency, or even in cost, right? I've heard a lot of startups say, oh, I had to pay OpenAI so much money. You just because this is not a scalable solution. When there are more people using it, you just end up paying more money to OpenAI on the tokens, and then you just don't have a viable solution there. Yeah. So this is a little counterintuitive, or maybe it's a little controversial, against some of the common beliefs of, oh, just build an MVP product and figure it out later. But we actually just build, with scale in mind, and took a rather mature product to market when we're ready to take it to market.
I wonder, so from I guess like you since you mentioned like you think scale at first, what I don't know if you want to talk about the product itself or like what are the something that you feel like um I guess other prior solution or like other existing solution that are like building are not scalable or I guess like how do you think of like from a technology standpoint what is scalable? So, because like I think as a regular, I guess a non-technical person, like you think anything tech could be scalable. Obviously, not every infrastructure built equally, but I guess like what are something that you feel um like should be built scalable versus like,
Mhm.
at the beginning, a lot of people, as you mentioned, maybe I guess people were ChatGPT wrappers. You have to pay, like I guess pay ChatGPT, but I
Mhm.
guess like what are something that's that should be built scalable at the beginning or
Yeah.
people should think of?
Yeah, I think it's already 9:50. I'm going to take this as our last question. Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah. So, as an
mhm,
engineer, if you ask me, I think scaling is everything. Yeah,
mhm,
the coding part is easy, implementing the logic, right,
mhm,
understanding the requirement. And nowadays you can use Cursor, Devon, Lovable. You can really just have, AI really very quite effectively generate all the code, right?
mhm,
But the definition of scaling, one is the number of users served, right? And it translates to
mhm,
concurrency. Yeah, it's about concurrent users. And then it just completely changes the game. I can build something myself can use. I can build something like so at Google and Facebook scale, you have billions of people using your systems, right? Even you look at a minute level, you have like a billion level concurrent user, right? Then it completely changes the definition of the problem, right? Then a lot of factors coming into play, right?
mhm,
And then the other part is resiliency or fault tolerancy, right? So not only you can serve a billion users, that you also don't fail, right? Or you
mhm,
hide your failures that your user don't experience your failing gracefully. Yeah. So and then the other part you mentioned, the ChatGPT wrapper, is the so you basically outsource the scaling. You're having OpenAI solve your scaling issue, and OpenAI is a highly scalable system. But then the cost of serve
mhm,
is so high, you don't have a business model, right? Yeah.
mhm,
Yeah. So all of these, the resiliency of the system, the concurrency of the system, and of course, if it's distributed, you're serving a global client, you have to solve all this global distribution issue, and then the fault tolerance issue, and then ultimately to really get the cost of serve down, right? So you can afford, right, serving all of these clients and usage, and still run a profitable business. Yeah. So
mhm,
um, of course, I do say this is disclaimer that is because our background, we all came from scaling
mhm,
systems, so we
mhm,
kind of have the know-how, and it's also maybe a little bit of muscle memory. And honestly, I did ask my teams, we have no we have no clients, and we still build the multi-tiered system and with like fault tolerance, auto scaling. But then I think, discussions with my team, like Kelvin, who now heads up product engineering, he's from Google GCP, also three-time founder, and
mhm,
he convinced me. He said, no, we skill first. We built to succeed, right? We
mhm,
want to build to succeed, and then to succeed you need to have scale. Yeah.
mhm. Awesome. Well, Maria, thank you so much for coming on the show today. I sorry about like we're running over a little bit.
No worries. Thank you so much. It's so nice to have me. Yeah.
Mm,
Thank you
thank you.
so much.
Okay,
Mhm.
let me quickly end stream.